19th of May, 2025, 10:39 p.m. Um, it bothered me going to bed knowing I have to go back to work tomorrow to sit in the hot warehouse and do menial computer tasks while it's 85 degrees inside because it's Florida and we're experiencing a heat wave again. Um, and it just bothered me to try to go to sleep and not do something at least marginally creative, even for my audience of one. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna do a reading. I literally wrote this today. Um, there's parts of my job that are very menial and very data entry and so mindless that in between putting in the information and waiting for the process to run, I can just completely divert my attention elsewhere for a hot minute at a time. So this was written about in about 1 minute spurts of enthusiasm over the course of maybe an hour, a little more than an hour. It's not long. Just I was listening to a book, and then I'm like, I want to listen to some music, and um, uh, from Almost Human, Voltaire's album, um, Feathery Wings came up, and I got thinking, disaffected angel of death, and I just ran with it. So I'm gonna read the thing and enjoy it or don't. If I do that, I'm gonna literally be talking into my hand. I'm gonna move that and tilt it up a little bit so it captures a little better. I'll kind of like talk into it a bit more. It was meant to be a punishment. For better or worse, my existence is that of a creature that brings others from one form to the next in a never ending cycle of life and death. There are countless beings, so too must there be countless shepherds for those beings. We are not meant to care, only lead them through the dark back to the light of life. My first mistake was in speaking of the empathy I held for the dying creatures, be they motes of dust in storms or the divinity themselves. Their lives, compared to what passes for mine, are terribly short, and there are so many ways for them to experience those lives. It is no wonder I found myself interested in the variations in their works, in their beings, as more than sparks to be relit when they flash out. Then came interest. I am uninterested in engaging in their frivolity, such passing fancies as art or numbers or any such. Some beings exist to be immortal, to be pillars of this creation, and as such our tasks are laid out rigidly. Even our thoughts, such as they are, lend themselves to single-minded execution of those tasks. I am no different in that I know, understand, and am fully committed with no reservations to the task I am bound to. But I respect the beings that count their days by creating, to them, new things, and counting numbers, and playing their games, and living. They have what I neither want nor need, and I take great interest in their lives without envy. The mistake I made that forced the others to punish me was to express that admiration for their struggles. The others mistook my words for a desire for something else, something beyond my task, as if I could desire such a thing. This was never the case, but I can admit the interpretation is warranted, even if impossible. My final mistake, and one I am hoping to conceal, is in speaking to one whose time was rapidly running out. You know, I intoned once my form had become consistent with the reality that this being experienced. I will neither stop you nor force you into action, but I find your reason for leaving this world wanting. The being fell backwards onto the slab roof, coated in chunks of rock, made a number of involuntary sounds and exclamations involving unlikely states of being and various blasphemies of this world's gods. They then turned accusing eyes on me. Who the f... They stopped short, voice catching, eyes going wide. I have seen many whose creative outlets were less than appreciated and have been unable to convince them of their worth in the world. Some time ago, by your standards, I consoled an ill painter whose work you likely know today. He did so well with sunflowers. The creature stared at me, blinked several times. It finally spoke. What are you? I am rarely corporeal, so it is unsurprising that this being doesn't have a frame of reference for my form. I believe it conforms to their conception of death, so I kept the response simple. I am your end when you leave this world. The creature's mouth moved in silent protest, but said, Then I must already be dead. Here to take me off to hell for jumping? Can we skip the bullshit and just go already? Ah, this is one of those. Too many living beings are terribly confused by the nature of life. It is quite a conundrum. They are alive but know nothing of their own state of being. You are confused, I intoned again. The fantasies of the foolish hold no sway over the universe. I am here to, when your life ends, escort your being into another. There are no punishments for the living choosing their ends, just as there are no rewards for those who allow their ends to choose them. Then you have not ended yet. You have a reason to continue, do you not? I can read living creatures as simply as words, and this one is vacillating between a witty retort about other similar beings not caring for their existence and admitting to the folded work of art they couldn't bring themselves to leave in their domicile, a work they are both afraid of and revere above all others they have created. I summon the pressed fibers, unfolding and returning it to perfect quality condition before me. The drawing, such as I understand it, is made from pressing a stick made of refined carbon into woven pressed fiber. The finer points of art escape me, but I know few beings in any given population are truly able to do so. This depiction of your dreams is sufficient by the standards of this society, so why disrespect its creation by creasing the form you have given it? The creature snatched it out of the air, crumbling it and displacing some of the dark smudges that give the raw materials form. I correct the work again, allowing it to float this time just out of reach of the being's ability to leap after it. I find this quite pleasing. Please do not damage it. It's mine. Give it back. The fuck do you care anyway? Therein lies the issue entirely, I fear. Why do I care? By any and all rights, natural or otherwise, I should have waited until this creature's essence freed itself from its physical form and taken it with all haste to be incarnated into a new physical form somewhere in creation. But here I am, speaking to the creature, prolonging its current life for a reason. Creatures such as yourself are a rare, self-selecting sort. I was perhaps amused, flattered even, at your depiction of my kind in your endeavor. That is why I care. The creature stared again, but not out of disbelief in my existence. Whether you choose your end now, later, or not at all, bothers me equally, for I shall be there as your guide regardless of that choice. However, speaking as though there is such a concept as I to differentiate, I am rather fond of this work, and it would bring me pleasure that more of it exists. The creatures slumped, their legs losing a battle against the force of gravity, and their mind losing the will to fight that battle. God likes my art. What a joke. a simplification, however not entirely inaccurate. I only stopped you to offer my viewpoint on your work. I shall retreat. Do as you will, living creature. I let my form vanish from their perception again, allowing the floating art to return to the artist's hand. They cradled it gently between two fingers, sure not to crease or bend the sheet. You still there, big guy? I did not answer. There was no more reason and no opportunity. The others are watching now. I do not know if they intend on any retribution for this episode, but I cannot say I care. The creature found their point of entry, climbed the stairs carefully back to the ground, and vanished into the night. I sighed and moved on. Okay, I guess a little commentary might be in order. Um, I guess the conception I've got here of this psychopomp, just to formalize this thing's existence. Um, it likes art, doesn't really understand it, is somewhat amused by it, but doesn't really get it outside of a general like. It's inherently not human. It doesn't have the senses. It doesn't have the empathy. It doesn't have nothing about it would endear it to a human except that it's curious. But it's not unkind, or at least isn't always unkind. In kind of a meta way, I could interpret anything that personifies death to be uninterested in it, insofar as that's just the cost of living. As for the artist, the being, the creature, I try never to give them any detail at all. Like it's the perspective here is of this supernatural being that's this psychopomp, this death god, and it doesn't care if the person they're talking to is young, old, doesn't care about their gender or anything going on in their life aside from, you created something. I enjoyed it to some extent. Continue doing that if you so choose. And just him being I don't even gender the I'm gonna start calling him the psychopomp because it's just easier to have a word for it. I don't even gender this being, because why and how? Like, how, I guess, is easy because human languages, or at least human experience, has something that we call gender. Whether you agree with what to define that as, I'm not getting into it. That's not the point. As for why or how, one of the two. Anyway, there's not really a point. That's not the point here. The point here is that's the consequence of life. You make a thing, you either love a thing or you hate a thing. Creating is better than destroying, and there's something to be said about the psychopomps of this work, their entire job being to continuously recycle souls or beings or whatever you want to call the essence that makes something with a mind itself. There's something interesting to be said about how their job isn't to deliver to deliver those people to their preferred afterlife, their punishment, their paradise. It's just, no, you're gonna go and get dumped back into the cycle of life, and that's all there is to it. Um, I don't entirely remember how Buddhism does this, but it's essentially the goal, and I'm coming at this as a novice, someone who doesn't really know, but I sort of picked up things here and there. The goal seems to be to escape the cycle of existence by being more and more enlightened. And that's not the goal here. Like, the goal here is just to continue existing, and you have no choice but to continue existing in whatever form comes next. There's, as far as this work is concerned, if I ever expand on it, there may be more, but there's no rules to it. It's just your materials to be recycled, and hopefully you enjoy the next life. Because if not, you're gonna have another after that, and another after that, and that's it. Like, there is no escape from living. Um, the more I think about it, the more sinister it sounds. Actually, maybe the Buddhists do have it right, but I don't know. It's there. Um, I really should throw a website together so I can just like actually publish written work again. Um, like, it's one thing to be semi constantly uh, working fanfic and dumping it on AO3. Um, let's be real, fanfic.net and Wattpad are not useful platforms. Arguably never were. They were what the internet had 10, 15 years ago, but now AO3 is kind of the gold standard. Um, that's Someone's gonna find this one day and leave a very nasty comment below it. I just know it. It's one thing to be doing fanfic and like dump whatever I happen to crap out and hope that the fandom likes it. It's another to write a, a meditation on death and put it put it out there. And here I claim to be a writer. I'm out of words. Uh, I could say it's not meant to be any deeper than I liked a song and wrote something in a similar vein. It is. I can't even lie about that. But I'm also not going to sit here and pretend that you, dear viewer, are my personal therapist. Um, that's all I got. Um, Let me know what else you want below. I'll keep making videos.